darling, it's been a long, long racing season. Little darling, it's time to rest and find a home. Here comes the hounds, didn't you know? Here comes the hounds, and I say it's for life. Hounds for life.
When you start a knitting project, you want to make sure it fits. So therefore, you have to measure, in this case, the neck of your greyhound, and you have to make a gauge. That means you knit a piece of 10 by 10 centimeters and count the stitches that you need to cast on, and the row stitches in this case are not so important. So I have measured Bella's neck is where the ears are attached, 40 centimeters in circumference and 46 centimeters where the shoulders are attached. I want a length of 22 centimeters, that's about the length of her neck. I have made a gauge and found out I need to cast on 30 stitches with needles number 9mm to got 40 centimeters. I will change halfway through the knitting to the 12mm needles. In this case, I will create the tapered shape that I need for the cowl. I will bind off the same stitches that I cast on, 30 stitches, and finally sew the edges together to create a tube, which should have a smaller and a wider end, and enjoy the lovely cowl. I'm starting with this lovely red color in this cowl. It's gonna be two-colored, and with the smaller needle sizes, the number 9. We are taking one end of the yarn, and you don't need to bother about a long tail cast on. We're doing a knitted cast on, which is easy to learn for a beginner. So you make a slip knot. Take one needle through the slip knot, pull it tight, not too tight, never tighten things up in knitting too much. Take your working yarn through your finger to tension it. You can either use the right hand, the continental way, or the left hand, continental way, or the right hand for the English way. Whatever your granny or your knitting teacher or the friend or your mom told you to do in their tradition. Then you go through the slip stitch with the right needle and pull the yarn from back to front. This is a knit stitch, and don't lift this stitch up, just lift the right hand needle with the stitch and twist onto the left needle. And keep your right needle in, get the next stitch through, lift it over your needle, twist it, come from front to back, drop it onto your knittle knitting, grab the next one. And so you continue and do your 30 cast on stitches. So now to start your first knitting stitch is you go in the first stitch, you don't turn the work, you stay exactly on the cast on end. You place your right needle from front to back, which is called a knit stitch. See, front to back. Then you grab your yarn, which is tensioned with your working hand, through the stitch. Use your thumb to secure the stitch on the right needle and the left thumb to secure the stitch on the left needle. Now this is like you did the cast on, so you're familiar with that. The only difference is that you now carefully slip the stitch off the left needle. So it's only on the right needle. That's your first knit stitch. Let's do the second. Secure with your thumb the stitch next to the working stitch on the left hand needle, and with your right thumb the last stitch on your right needle, so they are not slipping off. Then you go through front to back, through the loop, get your working yarn, bring it through, left thumb goes forward, securing the first stitch on the needle, and then you slip it off, thumb one down, slips this a little bit forward so you can work the stitch, front to back. This is a knit stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, place your thumb on and slip it off. Let's do it again. That's a knit row, and we're turning the needle around so the tip of the working needle with the working yarn is always facing to the right. Here's your tail, here's your working yarn. Put the working yarn behind. Remember to tension the working yarn through your fingers around your index finger. Slide the stitch to the front that you want to work with, secure the second stitch, For the first stitch, I recommend to pull the tail down a little bit, so you open up the stitch, and again, insert your right needle at the front of the stitch to the back. Slip the yarn from the back to front through the stitch and slip the stitch off the needle. Work your left thumb down one stitch, secure the stitch with your right thumb, and off you go, second stitch. Insert your needle, get your yarn through, slip it off the needle. So I'm going now and measure this piece and see how far we are and when we have to change the needles. See, you can see it on the needle here, or you can even have a gauge measure tool that can actually tell you the needle size, and this is 12 millimeter, right? I will look up what that is in inches and let you know in the video. We had a total length from 22. I have already knitted 12 centimeters, so I will knit 10 more centimeters in this larger needle. So the transition is very easy and you don't need to worry about that. You tension your yarn again. You take the larger needle, insert it into your knit as a knit stitch, and then you get the yarn through and create your first knit stitch with a number 12 millimeter needles. And you will see the stitch is larger, of course, because it's a larger needle and you need more yarn for this. So do the second one and you work with your thumbs exactly the same as before. Nothing changes here. It's exactly the same knit stitch that you had done all the way up to here. Now here comes in the other beautiful yarn. Also pure wool, chunky pure wool in this mustard color, and how I show you how to attach it. So you turn your knitting around, let just this yarn hang there, and like we did before with the tail of the cast on edge, we pull it down a little bit, add the edge of the new yarn to it, about this length, have it good length so you can work with it, put it together, pull it, tension it. Of course you have your working yarn in the working hand tensioned as well. Thumb on the second stitch, needle through the first stitch from front to back, grab the new yarn through, and it's holding together here, as you can see between my hands, so there is tension. And then you slip it through, and don't worry that it's sloppy, we fix that later. So just keep going, you have to keep going for a few stitches before you let go of your hand. So let's work 5 stitches, pull a little bit on the red yarn and a little bit on the mustard yarn, and just leave them hanging here, and they are quite secured. So nothing will happen there. And you continue to work. So I'm going to finish off this row. Just quickly measure it again if I'm really happy now, because I added 2 more rows. And I think that was spot on, because I am actually not even, yeah, I'm at 22 now, and the cast, that's actually perfect. Casting off. We are creating a nice cast off edge that does not need to be too flexible, because remember it slides over from the narrow part of the neck. So this is actually not stretching a lot. So we do a normal slip stitch cast off. We knit the first stitch as we always do, secure it, don't pull it tight. We knit the second as we always do and secure it as we always do. Now pull down the fabric so you create a space in the first stitch where you can insert your left hand needle to the front of the front leg from front to back. Secure the tip of the right needle with your thumb, gently slide it, don't let go of the fabric until you can slip through the other stitch. And here you go, you got 1 bind off. So do the same, a knit stitch, normal knit stitch, take it off, so you have again your 2 knit stitches here, And now pull down the fabric here to create a bit of a space at the first stitch and slip the first stitch over the second stitch, securing the tip of the right hand needle with your left thumb and then slip it off. This is the last stitch. Now we have one left, right? Obviously we have one stitch less. So what you do is you pull, you make a big loop, pull your yarn through and tighten this, not too tight. Just tighten it, keep your thumb and your index finger here and just have a nice and secured edge. Right, and this is now our finished cowl. Look at that. That's the right side and that's the wrong side. And cut it here. That's it. So we are done with this yarn. And then we thread through this piece through a wool needle. This is the right side, so we fold the right side on top of each other. And don't worry about any loose ends. You want it neatly on top of each other, and you can use your pins to pin it together if you are unsure, right? And that is then how the edge looks. You want the color change here to match, right? That's important for the look. And that's all looking good. So what we do, we insert our sewing needle, our wool needle, with the wrong side up and the right side inside. You see the purl bumps, this is the wrong side. And then we make a mattress stitch, a very easy stitch. The only thing you have to worry about is that you are not pulling it too tight, not too loose, and you are matching every purl bump. See the purl bumps here? You want each purl bump to be sewn together with one stitch, right? And this, in this way, you are keeping your colors clean, right? And there's the next color here. So we go through the purl bump, one and one, and just pull the wool through. Not too tight, always loosen it up a little bit. And then we have the next purl bumps that we want to thread the needle through. And we're coming to the last one, so we want to go through the knot, our slip knot, where we started our knitting from, going through the edge of the last stitch and pull our yarn through, and do that twice this time. So we're going again through the same stitch, just to make sure, and we pull this a little bit tighter, and just to make sure that we have a really even edge, and we do. Look at that. That is perfect. And you always go in your sewing seam when you weave in. And now the magic happens. We turn it inside out, and here is our cowl. Look at this beautiful shape. Does it not look like a greyhound neck?